Number 6. When I was heavily into the Monster Hunter series and showed the 3DS games off to recommend to other gamers, they would always bring up Dark Souls. They would say that the combat reminded them of it and would recommend it to me based on how hard it was. And over time, as YouTube gaming communities grew, so did the reputation of Dark Souls and its difficulty. We got to a point where if any hard game was released, it would be called the Dark Souls of insert genre here. I will admit I found this pretty annoying, and it only added to my reluctance to try the game. I mean, I do like a challenge. That's always been baked into me. I had played the Monster Hunter games to death and they're no walk in the park. Hell, one of my favourite 8-bit games is Sonic 2, and that's famous for its difficulty. I clearly had an appetite for challenging boss fights, with my love of the Metroid series, and I'm complaining that Pokemon games have gotten too easy lately. So why did I not want to play Dark Souls? I guess the premise of the game was always pitched to me wrong, and now that I understand the game better, I can say that calling Dark Souls a punishingly hard game is selling it short. Now that I understand Dark Souls, I feel that Dark Souls is nothing short of a flawed masterpiece. It certainly doesn't help that when I first met my best friend Jay, he showed me Dark Souls too eagerly without giving me any breathing space. Of course, back then I was a lot more mentally unstable, I couldn't control my emotions and my attention span was all over the place. My first taste of Dark Souls is nothing but a memory of fear, laughter at my expense, a feeling of embarrassment. I felt powerless, like a child at school cornered by bullies for my naivety. It left a very sour taste in my mouth, and I'm surprised I gave the game a second chance. But as our friendship grew, so did I. I started working on my YouTube channel and started to stimulate my brain with creativity again. I started to learn patience through my work, and I learned how to properly listen to others through other YouTubers. I honed my gaming skills further through friendly competition with Jay, who seems to naturally become very skilled at any game he tries. I love a bit of friendly competition, and Jay can be a good mentor. Some of the best gaming memories I have were playing Monster Hunter World together on PS4, and naturally, the topic of Dark Souls would come up often as others in the party would reminisce on their Dark Souls memories. I started to see a similarity between the two series' combat, and I started to think, hey, I'm pretty good at these Monster Hunter games. Dancing with and attacking massive enemies while managing my health and stamina. I can see myself actually being good at Dark Souls, and yeah, I know death in a game is a teaching tool, it's okay to die. I made a mental note to give Dark Souls a second chance, and then it wasn't long until I saw the perfect pitch for Dark Souls. Mark Brown, a YouTuber better known as Game Makers Toolkit, was covering the map design of the Metroid Prime games as part of his Boss Keys video series. These excellent videos made me subscribe to his channel. One day, I was chilling with Jay, and Dark Souls came up in conversation, so we looked on YouTube for videos on the game when a previously unseen Mark Brown video popped up about Dark Souls, so I played it, and in the video, he said this.
It's at this moment you realise that the world of Dark Souls is very different to most other games. It's not a linear series of zones, but a complex, maze-like world that branches off into different areas, then loops back around on itself through shortcuts and elevators. It seems to snap together like a fancy 3D jigsaw puzzle, and exploring this world feels like navigating a Metroid map or a Zelda dungeon.
Thank you GMT for making the perfect pitch. So Jay and I made a deal. He would play Metroid Prime and I would play Dark Souls. It really does help that once you get past the tutorial and receive the White Soap Stone from Solaire, you can enjoy this game co-op with others. And I love co-op games. Jay and I would spend many happy afternoons chilling in this world, intertwined with watching him play Prime and watching so many of what would become my favourite anime shows. I was going through a tough time dealing with the consequences of leaving university, that being in the world of Lordran was a peaceful escape. I had the determination to make it, I had developed the patience to take it, and I had the best company to support me so that when the pressure built up, I could easily shake it. and Dark Souls is designed to be so open that you have the freedom to break it. Even once my co-op time was over, I never stopped playing this game. I have went on to use up all my save files so I can tackle this game in a number of ways. The game provides enough options via leveling up your stats and summoning that it doesn't need an easy mode. Want an easier time? Try intelligence, or faith, or dexterity. You can add a bow to your inventory or learn pyromancy. You can summon offline NPCs to help with some of the tougher boss fights, or summon real online players who are usually better and can help guide you, and is balanced out with the risk of also being invaded. I'll be honest with you all too, I've never been able to solo Ornstein or Smo, or defeat Gwyn without either a distraction or heavily investing in my vitality, but that's okay. Dark Souls is your open playground to play and experiment as you wish. The Master Key is the gift to start the game with, as once you've landed in Firelink Shrine, you have the freedom to go pretty much anywhere, if you have the skill to back it up. I remember on my very first playthrough, I wasn't listening to the NPCs, so I wandered down into the catacombs, and then down into New Londor ruins, and at the time I didn't know what to do, and it was clear to me that this isn't the way I'm meant to go, in terms of game design. Once you see how this world connects up and loops back and have the knowledge on how to get through any area, it becomes very fun to try things out of order on repeat playthroughs, or skip things entirely. I really do see how this game is like a Metroidvania. And if we say that Super Metroid is peak Metroid, then yes, Dark Souls is a perfect 3D Metroidvania, because, like Super, it has some jank, it has some bullshit, hidden walls galore. The map has you descend deeper into its world and you'll find yourself unlocking shortcuts and backtracking to previous areas. The finale of the game is locked behind 4 bosses that you have to take down in order to access. Dark Souls even does what Metroid Prime does and turns previous bosses into regular enemies later on in the game. Bonfires are like save stations and provide the same calm and relief when I'm there. And is it me, or are these colour palettes also very similar? Maybe I'm looking too deep into it. Anyway, Dark Souls has been a very rewarding experience for me, whether it's uncovering every secret on my own, or introducing friends to the game and being their guide, reading about lore and watching endless streams of YouTube content inspired by the game, or just having a save file to be a summon for others in boss hotspots, or listening to its beautiful soundtrack in isolation. I love this game so much, and I only started playing 2 years ago. So if you've been on the fence, I really do recommend that you try Dark Souls. Whether you're a fan of the dance between player and boss, you crave a mostly fair challenge, you're a fan of Metroidvanias or RPGs, or just want a chill game you can enjoy with your friends, I guarantee that this game will also enrich your soul. If you ever see a summon in the Nintendo Switch version of Dark Souls Remastered called Night of Wind, I hope that we'll praise the sun together and know that I'm still deeply immersed and having fun fighting my way through the same area for the 200th time. This is why Dark Souls is my 6th favourite game of all time. And look at that, I talked about Dark Souls without mentioning Demon Souls, mainly because I've never played it.